So I'm going to walk you through what we did right before we left for break, and that was four different probability rules. So the first question here is talking about if you roll a regular six-sided dice, so a dice just like this. And the first question is, what is the probability of rolling an even number? Well, we know the numbers that are on a dice: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we want just the even ones. That's 1, 2, 3. So the chance of rolling an even number is 3 out of 6, which we can simplify to 1/2. It then asks, what is the probability of rolling a 2 and then a 3? So here's the first time we're seeing the and then rule. Remember, and then means we need to multiply. So the probability of rolling a 2 is 1/6 because there's 1 2 out of the 6 numbers. And the probability of rolling a 3 is also 1/6 because there's 1 3 out of the 6 numbers. And then means multiply, so I put my dot. And when I multiply fractions, I multiply across the top, that's our numerator, and across the bottom. So 6 times 6 gives me 36. Now the next one is in the shorthand that we learn mathematicians like. So the P just stands for probability, and it's asking what's the probability of rolling a 3 or a 4 or a 5. The or was one of the other rules we learned. We know that means we have to add the probability. So the chance of getting a 3 is 1 out of 6, or means I add. The chance of getting a 4 is still 1 out of 6, and the chance of getting a 5 is still 1 out of 6. When I'm adding fractions, I add my numerator, 1 plus 1 plus 1, that gives me 3, and I can do that because they have a common denominator of 6. That stays the same. So I have 3/6, which simplifies to 1/2. And the last one about this says not 3 or 4, so that means I need every number that isn't a 3 or a 4. I have 1 3, 1 4. The other numbers 1 2, 5, and 6. There are 4 of them, so 4 out of 6. And that can simplify to 2/3. All right, the next couple of questions use the full deck of cards, which I've reprinted here for you guys. I want to know the probability of a king and a queen with replacement. So the and part means I'm still going to multiply. The with replacement part means that once I pick out a card, I'm going to put it back in the deck of cards. So I'll always be drawing from 52 cards. So my chance of getting a king, I can count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 kings out of a total of 52 cards. And we said meant multiply. And my chance of getting a queen, 1, 2, 3, 4. The with replacement means I put back whichever card I picked out. So there are still 4 queens in there, and there's still 52 cards. Now remember, when I go to multiply, I do have to multiply across the bottom. So 52 times 52 gives me 2,704. And if I want to simplify that, remember, I go to math, enter, 1/169. The probability of not king, well, I've got 52 cards in total. Only 4 of them are kings, so I subtract out those 4. I have the same denominator, so that stays. 52 minus 4 is 48. And 48/52 is going to simplify to 12 out of 13. All right, the probability of club and diamond without replacement. So my first chance of getting a club is these guys up here. I've got 13 of them. So when I go to draw a card, I have 13 chances out of 52 cards. And still means multiply, so I put my multiplication. But now, without replacement means I'm not going to be drawing from 52 cards. I'm only going to be drawing from 51 cards. And because this is probability, this is the classical method of probability, we have to assume that whichever card we drew out was a club. So the second time I go to pick a card, I only have 12 clubs out of the 51 cards. And still means multiply. Now when I go for diamonds, all the diamonds are still there. So I've got 13 diamonds, but again, I only have 50 cards to draw from because I drew out a card here and I didn't place it back in the deck. All right, so now when I multiply 13 times 12 times 13, 2028 over 52 times 51 times 50, ooh, big number, 132,600. This is definitely one that I want to turn into a percent because as a fraction, it doesn't mean a lot to me. So once I make it a decimal, I move my decimal point 2 spaces to the right, which is the same as multiplying by 100, and I get 1.5%. So that means it's very unlikely. And finally, it says 2 of hearts and 3 of hearts without replacement. There's only one single 2 of hearts, only this. So that's one chance out of the 52 cards. The and still means multiply. And I have to assume that I did get the 2 of hearts. So now I only have one chance of getting the 3 of hearts out of my 51 cards. So 1 times 1 is just 1. 52 times 51 gives me 2,652. And I want to write that one as a percent as well. Oof. So as a percent, it is 0.04%. So very unlikely.